Alright, I'm back and we are going to watch the What's New in Swift session next. But before going to do that, Jeremy, quickly, you asked the question why I didn't watch the Hello Swift charts before. You didn't ask, but you said you already watched that yesterday. Why I couldn't watch it yesterday is because there was a match between Germany and England, and that's why yesterday evening I stopped streaming, and also I stopped streaming for a WWDC lab. So I was in a design labs for my current app, and there was some really useful feedback there. So I'll definitely make sure to request a lab. If you have a specific question on some specific topic, then request one for that. But if you just have an app and you just want to get some design feedback, the design lab is really great for that. So I definitely recommend that. And yeah, we're going to watch the What's New in Swift next. We could get right to it. And we should get right to it. So let me prepare the video here. Let me download that. In the meantime, Jeremy, how was your stream? I saw you stream today in the morning. What's new in Swift? Where do you hide? Must be W. There we go. This is the session. 38 minutes. This is a long one for sure. That should be fast to download anyways. Turn off the music already. All right, so anybody who wants to watch, just let me repeat. You have to make sure you open the video on a different device on your side. If you're watching this later on YouTube or Twitch, pause this video right now, open the video on your side. I'm going to count down from 3 so we can watch at the same time, and you can just see my reactions at the same time. And that's basically how this works. Was super nice, streamed for 6 hours, something like that, getting my last app ready for submission. I read that. Congratulations. You've made a post on Twitter and your app is basically getting ready, Jeremy. That's really great to hear. So congrats on that. But yeah, with the video ready now, I'm going to move this to the side. And as long as the video is running, I'm not going to talk much except reacting on what I see. If there is anything specifically, anything specific. Oh, let me pause that and get it back to 0 seconds. There we go. And let me show you the thumbnail. So you can also see by the thumbnail at where I am. So you can check if you're in sync or not. That's basically how it works. And I think that's all. And we can start watching it. 38 minutes. And I'm going to click it now. So 3, 2, 1, play. Wow. That's amazing. That's true. All right, so that was the what's new in Swift session. And let's get back to discussing that for a second. Let's go through those notes. Turn on the music here. All right, so what did we get? Let's start at the top. There was quite a few things. So first it started with community update. By the way, thank you for following Michael Coates. So thank you very much for that. And let's go through that. So community update, they basically talked about a mentorship program that they have expanded this. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, just visit this website, swift.org/diversity. But I'm going to talk about the features more. So Swift packages, there's now command plugins, which is really nice. I'm not really sure how they are integrated in Xcode yet, and if they can fully replace build scripts. I'm guessing not fully, but partly for some use cases. But I've got to explore that more. I'm really excited for that, to be honest. If that really can replace build scripts, I'm going to be really, really happy, because currently when you write a tool, like I have a tool called Body Crouch, you have to provide a way to use that in build scripts, and you have to provide a way and use that in Swift package plugins, and then some people use this, some people use that. If it's fully integrated in Xcode, I can just write a Swift package plugin, then this would be the best situation. I hope that's already there, but we will see. All right, and plugin support like this. Yeah, it looked relatively simple, but I have to figure that out. Build tool plugins are now possible. So there are different kinds of plugins, and the build tool plugins require a specific structure. That's what they said. Then what's cool is that if you have and if you ever ran into a problem where you had a framework define a specific target, and you have the same name in your project, like a target called utility, or like they say logging, then now you can disambiguate that with the module aliases, which is great. I also covered that on the Swift Evolution Monthly already, so that's all coming from Swift Evolution. That's why this is not all new to me. But what I really was impressed was that on the performance improvements, that there's now faster type checking of generics. And in one example they showed, they went from 17 seconds to 700 milliseconds. What's that? That's 17. Well, let's make it 17,000. 760, that's 22 times faster. This is really amazing, and I really hope that we could feel that when building our apps. So I'm really interested in trying that out. Runtime improvements, yeah, cool stuff there too. Concurrency updates, so they basically summarized how actor and async work and how they help, and that they now have backported that to macOS 10.15, iOS 13, etc. Data race avoidance. So we will be having more safety features, and they're adding them step by step, and they basically have the goal to have them all there until Swift 6, which again just reminds us that Swift 6 is still a bit far away than some might think. So I still think that after Swift 5.7, which we're getting in September or around September, I think there's even going to be a Swift 5.8 at least, and there might even be a Swift 5.9. I'm not sure about that, maybe that's not needed, but Swift 5.8 I think is still the next, because there's still a lot of stuff going on, including these data race avoidance discussion, and they all have to be discussed on Swift Evolution, so it all takes time. Same for distributed actors. This is basically the same story, making errors, some errors not possible when you do like multi-threaded stuff, and the distributed actors even work across devices. So actors was for if you had like multiple threads in your application and you access the same data and change it. Like imagine you have, they showed a game example like with the player here. Imagine you have a player and you're accessing that from like the main thread when the user clicks something, and you also have a background process that, like, I don't know, has a timer going on and always counts up things or something like that. And now you should use actors for that, so there's like no data race when both are accessing the same data. And now it's even going to work with the distributed keyword. It's even going to work when you have the data lying on like a server or something like that, and you want to access that from your device. So, or you have multiple devices. For example, I have one device and I want to place against someone who's in the same room, and you can use distributed actor somehow. I don't really understand the network layer completely yet, but it sounds like there is going to be, and that's what they mentioned as well here, that there is a distributed actor package. It sounds like there is going to be integrated network solution that takes over the communication, which would be really awesome, but I don't fully understand it yet, and I think it's just not there yet. It's not finished. I'm guessing that next year at WWDC we're going to get a new framework or something that's going to use distributed actors inside and make this all possible really easily, that you can communicate between devices by just specifying distributed actors. But I think it's already possible to implement it yourself, and I'm sure we will see some open source tools that help there and also help us understand it better. Then there's async algorithms package. So for everybody who's working with async await, there's just more stuff you can do there now. And that's that. Then we have concurrency. We can analyze that in instruments, which is great that we have something new there. Then Swift is getting more expressive. That's how they basically summarize all the new features of Swift to make it more expressive here. And I'm not going. Yeah. Let's go through. So this is basically they pitched this as helping us prevent out of sync errors. That you no longer have to write let and then your variable name equals the same variable name. You can just write if let or let like that, which is, I think it's cool. So it's going to help prevent some out of sync naming errors. I had that actually quite a bit. Permitted pointer conversion. So they basically, this was a low level part, so I don't quite understand why this is important, but I'm guessing that this is important. So there is even a new work group that basically works towards these things. And the good story for us is I think with this, there's going to be more libraries that are basically getting wrappers for Swift or made compatible with Swift in the future. And I think that's a great thing. So everybody can now use more libraries. Imagine like you want to write a Swift package for working with Git, for example. And Git, I think, I guess, is a C library or C++ or something like that. And now things like that, writing a library for that, just using Git directly from that, I think those things are going to be more easy now. All right, then we had string parsing. Oh, that was interesting. So the way they explained regular expressions, because regular expressions is a topic that, and from my feeling, some people are really loving like regular expressions. Like me, for example, I do love them because I'm using them everywhere. They make possible things that without irregular expressions would just not be possible. So that's basically how I see them. And I do know, though, that many people just don't understand them or just don't like them because they have this weird syntax. Like you can see in their example here. Let me make this bigger. So who of you would be able to read this right away? So I could say, for example, \h. What is \h? What does that stand for in regular expression? I personally don't know, for example, if that even is a defined thing there or not. If that's just saying this is just an H, and then star means you can have as many as them of that as you want, and you have to learn an entirely new language. This is like a programming language in itself. The way they sell that we should learn this is basically, I found that really interesting. They basically said, we have this hard to read indices when you're working with strings. Right, and the reason for that is because you can have like different Unicode representations. That's like the low level thing. You can have different Unicode representations of the same string, and then if you just use an integer, for example, as an indice, the one representation doesn't work with, it has a different integer index there than another one, and then you might end up with an unexpected result if you use indices like just with int or something. That's why we don't have int there. Instead, we have to like use this weird string indices syntax, and instead of fixing that, they basically said we could fix that and make it simple as this, but that's not the real solution. The real thing you're going to do, the real thing is, that's how they expressed it, if you have a problem like that, where you need to access indices, you probably are doing the wrong thing. That's basically what they said. You shouldn't be doing this. Instead, try to express what you really want in a different way, and that regular expressions are going to help with that, because now you can use this nice DSL, which I really like, which describes like you want to have, for example, now I know this \h means horizontal whitespace. I just knew whitespace, that's \w, but I didn't know \h in regex is that, but now I learned something. But I wouldn't have to know even with this syntax. I could just write 0 or more of this, and then optionally I want this. So they basically say, instead of using indexes and things like that, just use regexes, because then you can extract the part that you really want to have from a string more expressively, like in a more declarative way. And I really like how they put it there. I don't like that they are saying like you don't need to fix the index problem because now you have a regex. I hope they will fix that as well. I can still imagine some situations where you just need that, but I think it is true that in many situations you just want to have a regex instead. And yeah, I will consider for like making code reviews, when I see people accessing index, I will remember this now, and we'll just think right away about maybe this should actually use a regex. And for using that, we need to import regex builder. And they say it's also not a just beginner friendly feature to use this builder syntax. Instead, it improves also things and makes things more reusable, which I agree. All right. Custom engine written in Swift. This is also something, as I wrote a summary of that, I have read that they actually implement many features in regex. Like there are many implementations of regexes in different languages, and they are not all compatible with each other. Some implement some things, some don't implement some things. And as far as I know, and I've read, in Swift, they are basically implementing many of those from other languages. So they basically support just copy and pasting from other languages into Swift, and support even more than I think any other language supports. So we're going to have the best support probably. And Michael Codes, I'm not sure how to say the name. I'm going to stick with Michael. So Michael Codes is around here. So how are you doing? Did you watch it together with me? That would be interesting to know. Generic code clarity. These things were nice. So generics overall, just getting improvements. And the main takeaways are starting with Swift 6. They didn't mention this explicitly, but I don't know that. Starting with Swift 6, we will have to use the any keyword. Until Swift 6, we can also watch something else. I'm fine, thanks. How are you? Yeah, I'm great. I'm really enjoying learning all the new stuff during WWDC. Are you watching videos as well? And the anything will be required starting with Swift 6. Until then, you can still use it already, since I think Swift 5.6 or something. And you should be using it to make the difference more clear between how did they differentiate them. They had a nice way to put this. There you go. Something that conforms to, that's basically what a protocol usually means. And a box whose contents conform to. So basically, whenever you need to provide any in the future, you actually have a box that basically wraps a type. And that box type is being generated by Swift automatically for you. That means that some things are not going to be possible with that box type that you can do with something that really is the protocol type. And I'm not going to go into the details there, but basically that's why you have to use any in the future to differentiate them better. Hi there, Jeremy, how are you doing? Oh yeah, okay, you're talking with Michael Coates. All right, and then what they mentioned is that previously it was basically nicer, or let me open this here. It was nicer to write with this any keyword, but it was less performant. So this is just a slower algorithm than the top one. So they said you should be using the top one, but people were using the lower one because the any keyword made this much easier to write and use. And now they are introducing basically the same syntax at the top one, by just providing some, so it becomes as easy to use as the any one. So what I think should stick in our minds is try to use some if you ever need to specify like a generic type. because that's just faster instead of any, if that's possible. If it's not possible, then you have to go back to any. I'm not watching your sessions, but I'm listening to your summaries. That's nice. That's also a way to do this, and that's great. Then lots more changes to Swift, pitched, proposed, and reviewed. Yes, obviously, I'm covering them, by the way, in my monthly. So if you don't know that yet, you can just go to Swift Monthly, semonthly.flyingdev.com. I don't know why I've never opened this here yet, but this is basically a monthly summary that I write about what new stuff is coming in Swift in the future. And I'm covering this before anyone else, because there's no one else covering Swift Evolution, which is where everything is discussed first. Everybody else is covering it as soon as the release comes out. But if you want to read those things, for example, regex overhaul, I already covered that. Also, this box thing, this is what is called an existential in Swift. They are not calling it existential because they actually don't want you to know that it's an existential, because that's like a lower level kind of thing, and users should just think of it like a box. I think that's a good way to put it. Alright, so this is, I guess, more or less my summary. And again, the thing I'm most excited about is, apart from regex, I really love this regex DSL. That's also really, really great. And I'm looking forward to, like, when someone says, hey, regex are complicated, just show them this and just say, like, do you really think this is complicated? I think this is the easiest way to express it. But what I'm most hyped for the performance improvement. Already mentioned that. Let me search for 2 exclamation marks. There you go. This performance improvement is just dope. I'm really excited for this, and yeah, that's, I think, my summary for what's new in Swift.